Welcome to the Solid Verbal. The Solid Verbal.
Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
I've heard so many players say, well, I want to be happy. You want to be happy for a day? Eat a steak.
It's that woo-woo!
And now, Dan and Ty.
Welcome back to the Solid Verbal, boys and girls. My name is Ty Hildenbrand. Joining me, as always, over there in sweltering New York City, my man Dan Rubenstein. Sir, how goes it?
It goes really well, Ty, and I'm going to tell you why.
Yeah, tell me.
I was pretty sure I was out of coffee this morning, and I went for a run. Gave me a good amount of energy. But then I remembered I had some cold brew in the fridge, Ty.
Oh, I can't do that.
Which is even more powerful because it's a sort of reduced version of coffee.
Mm-hmm.
And I may have overdone it because I was worried about not being caffeinated enough. And when you overdo cold brew...
Not good.
It's cold cane, Ty.
Yeah, it is not good. Wegmans damn near killed me with their cold brew about a year ago, and I haven't had it since.
So the lesson is, be careful, because we've got a really fun show tonight in which we've asked for a bunch of questions about revenge. Revenge would be one way of looking at it. My more optimistic way is turning things around in the new year. Optimism.
But revenge is more controversial, Dan.
But revenge. Yeah, that's sort of what's going on. So we asked for questions about which 2017 L you most felt your team could turn into a 2018 W.
Yeah, W.
Your dream next coach, because it's never too early to start imaginarily firing people.
Right.
I feel bad. It's a holiday week, and we should all be celebrating with family and loved ones and not thinking about loss of jobs. And in that vein, Ty, celebrating with loved ones and family and friends and whoever else wants to hang around grilling meats or vegetables, we want to talk side dishes specifically for cookouts, barbecues.
Cookouts, Dan.
Yes, whatever it is that people in your region of the country or world call cooking things over open fire. We want to go to the side of that. Compliments, Ty. That's what we want.
All right. Don't forget, you can always follow us out on the social medias where all the kids are. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. We're on Instagram. Please follow us. If you haven't already, sign up for the newsletter because we got a bunch of exciting stuff that we're going to be sending out. I've been checking daily. The notifications, I've joked with you, are popping up on the screen left and right from new people who want to sign up, want to be part of the action, want to get early access to not only our merch, which we're going to be putting on sale in very short order, but also the tickets to the live show. The tickets to the live show, we are still in the process of firming up the venue. We think we've got a good one picked out.
When's the live show? When is it? When is it, though?
Live show in Chicago, August 11th.
Oh, my God, can't wait.
Is the official date, but as soon as we've got that venue, and as soon as we can put tickets up for sale, we're going to do that. But we will give everyone notice. Again, sign up for the newsletter, which you can find out on our Facebook page or on our website, solidverbal.com. The people who subscribe to the newsletter are going to be the ones who get first dibs on tickets.
Yes, that will be the 2018 Fantasy Things Draft live show in Chicago. Ty will be crowd surfing to the stage, as he has promised many times.
That's right.
And I think we should get into that. We got a lot of good Q's and some mediocre A's.
Mediocre A's. Daniel.
Yes.
I found my soundboard in one of the boxes. Do you remember when we used to play this sound talking about Jameis Winston?
I do. I do indeed remember this.
Maybe I shouldn't go there on this show, but...
America's quarterback.
Nonetheless, happy 4th of July. Perhaps you're listening on the way to a barbecue or grilling adventure of some kind, regardless of what you call it and what part of the country you might be. We've got questions in front of us, Dan. Where do we want to go?
Let's start here with a state in which I will be in a few days. The beautiful state of Michigan. The state I don't have. What is the nickname of the state of Michigan? Do you know?
Dan, it's the Wolverine state.
Is it? Okay.
We should have known that.
Should have known. So it's of Michigan's Big Ten losses from last year. This is the likelihood that Jordan thinks the flipping happens, basically, from an L to a W. Michigan State, Wisconsin, Penn State, Ohio State. We've talked about this in the past. I don't know what your opinion stands right now. So we're ignoring the Notre Dame game. We're ignoring Western Michigan, SMU. So of those 4 losses, they go to Michigan State the week after big body blow Wisconsin.
Right.
On the road after playing Wisconsin at home, I think is going to be pretty tough.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
I would say the most likely, and we've probably answered this question in the last 3 weeks, but coming off of that bye week and playing at home and playing against a Penn State team that has lost a number of key pieces, that including Joe Moorhead, I would say that is the most likely flip. How do you feel about that?
Well, yeah, coming off the bye is definitely a little bit more advantageous, but if memory serves, that game isn't till a little bit later on in the year.
That's correct, November 3rd.
So I think I'd be inclined to go with Jordan here and go Michigan State, because as I look at Ohio State, as I look at Penn State, and as I look at Wisconsin, I still don't feel as confident in Michigan State as I do those other 3 teams on a week-to-week basis.
A direct thumb in the face to Bruce Feldman and his body blow theory, though.
It is a thumb in the face, sorry, and also I believe this would classify as early Michigan State disrespect.
Oh, that's true.
Right.
I am disrespecting Michigan State, saying they're not even worth talking about because Penn State is the more likely loss.
Right. That is true.
And you are disrespecting Michigan State because you don't believe they're going to be good enough at home again after Wisconsin.
Yep.
On Michigan's schedule to beat the Wolverines.
A blatant show of disrespect here, but I'm going to agree with Jordan's assessment and go Michigan State.
Early disagree. Colin wants to know, first of all, he says over under on D'Antonio era seems like 4 years. I'm going to go under. I'm going to say it's going to be fewer than 4 years left, just because.
Why do you feel that way?
Health issues coupled with the upheaval in East Lansing in the athletic department, that there needs to be a cleaning of house. And that doesn't necessarily mean you fire the football coach, but sometimes there comes a time where a football coach and school just decide it's the best. Even Mark D'Antonio, arguably as like the best football coach in the history of the modern program, I could see a time to move on there. So his question is Dave Aranda, Alex Grinch being his 2 names. Obviously, big and huge name defensive coordinators lately. Alex Grinch at Washington State, Dave Aranda most recently at LSU, but also success in the Midwest at Wisconsin recently. Do you think either of them make it that long, so around 4 years, before landing a bigger gig? Tyler.
I think Aranda probably has his sights set on, no disrespect again to Michigan State.
Oh, God, Ty.
Twice in a row now I'm doing this, Dan, but I think that Aranda could probably get what I would consider a top 10 job. If my only 2 options here are Alex Grinch or Dave Aranda, I'm inclined to go Alex Grinch.
I would go Alex Grinch as well, though there are complicating factors to both of these names. The Alex Grinch complicating factor is a lot of people think, given his, I believe he's an associate head coach, or he has a big title at Ohio State as he slides into that 10th spot, that 10th assistant spot, that perhaps he is next in line when Greg Schiano probably moves on somewhere after his time at Ohio State, and Alex Grinch makes for a natural successor there. And then the Dave Aranda thing, and this is one of my favorite words, Ty, the scuttle.
Ooh.
Scuttle. The scuttlebutt is that his eyes, at least within the last year, his eyes long-term are probably pointed in the direction of the NFL.
I could see that too. Yeah.
He doesn't necessarily want to belong for college football. He doesn't necessarily have this is according to people who would definitely know better than you and I, that his temperament is best suited to be just that magician defensive coordinator in the NFL. And that he wants to be like Dick LeBeau kind of thing.
So let me ask you a question then.
Yeah.
Hypothetically speaking, I don't have that sound queued up, but I'm going to reframe Colin's question.
Yeah.
Is an NFL defensive coordinatorship better than a top 10 job in college football?
Depends what you're looking for. If you are looking for a football intensive lifestyle where you worry about X's and O's, where you perhaps plan with the head coach and plan with some sort of team president about personnel to run your defense, and coaching more than teaching, because you remember, you're bringing in high school kids, certainly with a ton of raw talent, but there's a lot of teaching of technique. There's a lot of teaching of how you go game to game, play to play, how you keep temperament, and just sort of molding you into an NFL player.
Right. Well,
whereas in the NFL, yes, you really have to worry about installing systems, making sure people know their assignments, but not necessarily teaching them footwork in the way that you would have to teach a 19-year-old.
And guess what? We're obviously singing to a very biased choir here, asking that question. However, if Aranda falls into that category of liking the scheme maybe more than the apparatus around college football and everything that goes along with it, I think you're right in that there's probably a spot for him somewhere in the NFL before long. So I'm going to go with Alex Grinch there as my more likely answer if we're talking about D'Antonio out within the next 4 years. You also bring up some good points as to why he might leave. He's 62 years old. There are clearly complicating factors around that Michigan State program that might facilitate an exit within that time frame. So we shall wait and see.
I'm sort of fascinated, and we'll get to the next question in a matter of seconds. I'm fascinated by the situational happiness of coordinators, either college, pros, whatever, where a lot of people not in football can just be very happy with their lot in life. They're happy with the money they make. They're happy with their coworkers.
Did you say lot in life?
Their lot in life.
Okay.
Their situational happiness. And a lot of people ask that question about Brent Venables. Is he waiting for Kansas State? I know we have a Kansas State question, or is he just super pumped to be making a ton of money coaching the best assembly of defensive linemen in college football? I'm fascinated to talk to people about that, about how real that has become.
By the way, Scott Lawton, current Flyer, used to live above me.
Really?
In the apartment complex. True story.
Wow. Good to know.
Moving on.
Jonathan wants to know, does Florida State get revenge against Boston College, Clemson, Louisville, Miami, North Carolina State?
All of them?
BC is the most likely.
Sure.
I think it's fair. That's in Tallahassee this year. It was the big emotional game last year. And it was also a game last year in which Florida State was pure concentrated
trash.
But
yeah,
yes,
really
trash
bad
but
in that game. But Boston College, we've answered this Boston College question before in this show. There seems to be some amount of trepidation about Boston College v. Florida State in 2018. I just don't see it. I don't know. I understand that they sort of caught lightning in a bottle last year, Boston College, in beating Florida State, but there was a lot working against FSU a year ago. I'm not seeing it in Tallahassee this year, Dan. So I feel pretty good about that game. Clemson's going to be loaded again. I don't see it.
Quarterback questions,
but the right kind of questions.
And there are those same questions with Florida State.
Louisville, I don't know what to expect out of Louisville this year.
BVG.
Miami, NC State, again, big questions for me.
I think the revenge spot is BC first and foremost.
Oh my God, yeah.
Coming to Tallahassee. But I really do like Boston College. I like what they have in the backfields. Defensively, I think there are a couple pieces that will cause trouble for a lot of teams. Florida State, I think that game is later on in the season, right?
It's later in the year.
Florida State, BC. So you would imagine Florida State will be in a bit of rhythm. The quarterback should be sorted out by then. I like Willie Taggart play calling on offense. I got to see that with issues last year, and I don't think Florida State will have those issues with injury again. It's just hard to believe they'll be snake bitten once again. So that's probably my answer here.
All right, where are we going?
Matthew wants to know, is it all hype, or can West Virginia actually beat, for the very first time, a Bakerless Sooner squad?
I know your answer. Your answer is no.
My answer is, I think it's a complicated answer. As you know, if you listen to last week's episode, I'm pretty down on what West Virginia has returning and will put on the field on defense.
I am detecting a very, very serious hedge coming here from what happened last week on this show.
It's not a hedge. I believe Oklahoma's going to win this game.
Okay.
But here's my but. I've always wanted to say that onto a microphone. Here's my but. This is one of those sneaky, Oklahoma is the final game of the season for West Virginia, correct?
I believe so.
It is. It's November 23rd. The week before they play Oklahoma State. The week before that they play TCU. The week before that they're at Texas. Oklahoma, before the West Virginia game, do you know who they play? Kansas.
Yeah, Kansas.
So situationally, and it's after Bedlam too. Obviously, you remember they've moved Bedlam up to more of the beginning of November.
Right.
So it doesn't always come down to just that game at the end of the year. I imagine if there is a situation, if they're playing Oklahoma State the week before West Virginia, that to me has such an enormous letdown potential that a not as good West Virginia at home against Oklahoma in a letdown spot has a better shot. But because there's that Kansas buffer, which let's hope we don't have to say that all year long.
Kansas buffer.
Poor Kansas.
Yeah.
Right. I do like Oklahoma a little bit more, but it's a Mike Stoops defense late in the season. And West Virginia has probably, as we speak now, the most dependable quarterback in the conference at home in an emotional spot, perhaps. I don't think Oklahoma blows them out, but I think I'm just going to go with Lincoln Riley and the Sooners.
You know what, Matthew? I am with you, dog.
Lock it up, Ty.
No, we're not locking it up. It's about to be July 4th, Dan. We're not locking it up this far in advance, but
lock it up.
We've been talking so much about this Kyler Murray situation. I'm fascinated by it.
Yeah.
I can't read enough about it. It is such a unique spot where you've basically got a kid signed on for $5 million, a top 10 baseball pick, signed already for $5 million, has one shot. I'm waiting for the Oklahoma fan video set to Lose Yourself by Eminem, you know.
Mom's spaghetti. Yeah.
Exactly. I am not convinced he's playing the whole year.
You think that he gets injured and shuts it down?
I think if he's injured at all,
rolls an ankle, anything,
he shuts it down.
I mean, Oklahoma has other quarterbacks they could probably win with.
I'm just not convinced that Kyler Murray is going to be the answer for a full 12-game slate in the Big 12. And so this game being at the end of the year on the road at West Virginia, who knows what Oklahoma is playing for at that point? What the hell? Let's do it. I think it can happen.
Our friend Jess Matana, of course, of New York City, Notre Dame graduate, lists her Notre Dame L to W as Stanford tie. How do you feel about said L to W Stanford with, I know you've gotten some flack on the subreddit r/solidverbal, people saying you weren't doing your homework about Stanford's offense.
Okay.
I actually think you were pretty right on, other than neglecting the Bryce Love factor.
Well, I haven't seen this, so what were they saying?
They said that you were selling too vigorously on Notre Dame being an offensive threat this year and being more about defense, when they had some big losses on defense. And this year they return a lot on offense, including Bryce Love, although KJ Costello has been pretty beat up. I think he had hip surgery early on in the offseason. I don't think they have like a guy at either tight end or receiver in the way that they've had in years past, where they've been able to count on a lot of efficiency on offense. But last year they still were, because of those Bryce Love home runs, they were one of probably the 10 or 12 most purely efficient touchdown scoring teams in the country.
Okay. No, I
what's
feel
your flip factor?
I feel fine about flipping that Stanford game. The game's, it's first off, it's in Notre Dame, which is always helpful. Whenever they go out to Stanford, I feel like they lose. I have no data to back that up.
Right.
It's purely reactionary as a skeptical Notre Dame fan. But yeah, games in South Bend, that's one. And I'm going to stand by what I said. I think Notre Dame defense keeps them in it. Low scoring game, slug it out in the mud, end up winning. So I always feel, I think, okay about Stanford in Notre Dame. The one that really gets me is when they go out to USC. End of the year.
Oh, yeah.
That's like always a loss. So I don't even want to talk about that.
Notre Dame going west, where like as they fly, like they lose parts of their football souls midair. Right. It's not great. I am going to tag your opinion with, I agree. Stanford the week before goes to Oregon, which I think will be a more physical team in the trenches than in years past, but they return along both lines. Even if Stanford's able to pull out that game in Autzen, going to Eugene and then going to South Bend in consecutive weeks after having already played San Diego State and USC earlier in the month, I think is going to be a lot. So I think that's a good spot for Notre Dame to get Stanford. Jess also adds that her dream next Notre Dame coach, which it seems Brian Kelly is pretty entrenched. Like he's in that zone where the NFL's probably not calling. His name probably is already at such a big school that it would be a lateral move to go somewhere else unless he's miserable in South Bend. Do you get that sense?
I get the sense, yes, that he's entrenched, and also
but misery.
Perhaps he may be growing more miserable.
What would make a Notre Dame coach miserable, given the definite advantages?
You mean other than coaching at Notre Dame?
Other than coaching at Notre Dame, what specifically do you think wears on a coach more than anything else? With that, a really good, or if not excellent job.
I think Brian Kelly has always fashioned himself as a career man in the sense he's looking for another gig. He wanted that Notre Dame job more than anybody else. And I do feel like there was part of him, again, just opinion, that wanted to go to the NFL. That has not materialized because the stock has sort of remained neutral or dropped a little bit since that run to the national championship game back in 2012. His stock hasn't risen a whole lot. If anything, it's gone down a little bit. So I feel like that part to him is probably a little bit frustrating. And it just seems like he's unable to get things firing on all cylinders the way many fans had hoped. There are a lot of fans that are really down on BK. They think he mismanages so much of that team. So I think just a confluence of events here perhaps has worn on him over the course of time. Again, just my opinion. But if I were venturing a guess, I think BK has gotten a little bit more frustrated with that situation. As for Jess's dream coach here, when she talks about Urban Meyer, am I seeing this correctly?
That you are seeing it correctly, yeah.
Man,
former Notre Dame wide receivers coach, I believe.
I'm with Jess. I love Jess, right? I'm with her.
Of course, everybody loves Jess.
I'm with her on Urban Meyer. However, is there any team out there outside of Ohio State and Alabama whose dream coach isn't also Urban Meyer?
That's a good point. I would probably say Clemson's dream coach is not Urban Meyer.
Okay, 3 teams.
Yeah.
3 teams.
Fair.
So I think you almost assume Urban Meyer as the answer here. A more realistic answer has eluded me for years. I was talking to a friend a couple weeks ago about all things Notre Dame, and the same question came up. If BK were to leave, who would be your dream coach?
I don't have. Mama H say?
It was not Mama H. I don't have an answer for it. And I know I'm supposed to, being the resident Notre Dame fan here and
sure
our brand of college football, whatever, on the Solid Verbal. I'm supposed to have an answer for that question. I don't.
Well, there's somebody in state who has received a lot of buzz.
Okay.
Tom Allen. I like Tom Allen. I'm rooting for him.
Jeff Brom, okay, maybe.
So that's in state, and he will have head coaching experience in a major conference. Has a lot of buzz. Would be creative. Did a good job bringing with him Nick Holt and succeeding on defense in year one.
Let me say this before we go on much more about this.
Okay.
Any enthusiasm I have about a young up and coming coach is blunted by this skepticism I have, maybe from being a Notre Dame fan for too long, that, they're not going to want to go to Notre Dame. Why would they want to go to Notre Dame when there might be an opening at LSU in 2 years, or there might be an opening here or there?
Early bird dinners, hard candy.
Shut up.
Sock hops.
Shut up.
Let's stick with Purdue. Our old friend, Danny Klobuchar. I added the NY. Last season, Purdue beat Iowa and lost to Northwestern and Nebraska. To have a bowl season, they may have to flip the Nebraska game in Lincoln. So Purdue heading to Lincoln with a different looking defense up front. And the Northwestern game at home. Which is more likely? So going on the road and beating Nebraska or beating Northwestern at home for Purdue.
All right. So let's look up the
Purdue schedule in front of me. So they have Iowa at Ross Aid, like you said, a week after they travel to Michigan State, and that's a week after Ohio State. So that's the end of a pretty rough string.
Yeah, it's tough.
They have BC and Missouri both in Ross Aid before they travel to Nebraska. They travel to Lincoln. So certainly going to Michigan State a week before coming home is probably more difficult than having Boston College at home the week before Nebraska if we're going to focus on body blow stuff. I'm going to say it's more likely that Purdue is able to, probably at home.
That Nebraska spot is intriguing to me because it's at the end of September.
Right.
You know, I'm pretty high on Scott Frost, but there's a pretty good chance that team is still going to be trying to find its way.
He also mentioned Northwestern. That's the opening night game in West Lafayette.
Right.
On a Thursday night. It's like the opening, like August 30th.
That was the other game I was looking at. That's a pretty good spot too for them.
It's pretty good to be at home to open the season when you are going to look rusty in certain aspects, especially with some new players around the field for both teams, really. And Northwestern with Clayton Thorson coming off of injury in his first spot back after getting hurt in the bowl game. I think it's pretty safe to say that that's a nice spot for Purdue. So I will say that's probably my most likely flip.
All right, where are we going next?
Can UCLA, this is from Bradley, surprise anyone on its schedule? Ty, I have this schedule. This sort of feels like, can I get a date to the prom if I learn how to dress better real quick?
Is this a Yahoo Answers question?
This is can UCLA surprise? So here's the full list of, so if by surprise, Bradley means beat somebody unexpected who is not taking UCLA perhaps as seriously as they should be, even though I think teams are going to take UCLA pretty seriously with Chip Kelly.
Sure.
So that would be at Oklahoma. That would be Washington. That would be at Oregon. That would be USC and Stanford. Teams that, for whatever reason, believe UCLA is far away and are more talented than UCLA is currently constructed. Can they surprise any of those teams? Sure. I would say the most likely of those is probably Stanford at the end of the year.
Okay.
They get them in the Rose Bowl. It's a week after Stanford is on the road in, it's the big game, but I think Cal's going to be improved. So a week after a rivalry game, staying on the road feels sort of let downy to me. And I know you're not fully convinced of KJ Costello. I think that's fair to say.
That's fair.
So him going on the road, UCLA will be more fully formed clearly by the end of the season. I would say that's the spot that UCLA, if you remember, this happened a couple of years ago, that UCLA looked really good, had the letdown against USC and then just got trucked by Stanford at home a week after a rivalry game.
That's correct.
I think UCLA is not trucking Stanford, but it's a good spot to get somebody more talented.
So what I'm doing at the current moment, Dan, is I'm going through and I'm looking at all of the games between Chip Kelly at Oregon and Stanford.
Does Chip Kelly have a Stanford problem?
That's right.
Yes, you're right.
You'll remember we've talked about this. It does go with him now as he moves over to UCLA.
So I want to say Oregon murdered the best Stanford team ever in 2010. They started out slowly.
Oregon won that game by a 52-31 margin.
Right, but I think they were down like 21-3 and rolled. Then at that point, it was like 49-10. So it was a pretty comfortable win.
The following year, they won again
comfortably,
handily, 53-30.
I was there.
Now, after that came a very, very close Stanford win in 2012. I guess that'd be Chip Kelly's final season, but
that's too painful to talk about even to this day.
Too painful to talk about.
Granted, these are different, defensive coordinators and Derek Mason, everything like that. But there's, David Shaw's been there a very long time.
Yeah.
So, all right.
I'll agree.
Let's go to the SEC. We have a couple more questions before we get into food. Does that work for you?
Couple more. Sure. Let's do it.
Couple more. This is from Tyler. I think the 2018 version of Florida, which Tyler is very confident he knows what the 2018 version of Florida is going to look like. But I appreciate that.
Sure.
Would beat LSU, who they lost to by 1, or Texas A&M, who they lost to by 2 this time around.
Okay, so he is taking the 2018 Florida Gators on the Magic School Bus back a year and playing LSU and Texas A&M. Is that my understanding?
No, I think he means 2018 LSU and A&M.
Oh,
well, Florida doesn't even play A&M this year, so he must mean last year's team. Okay, so let's go with let's just stick with LSU. How would you rank Florida's ability to flip that LSU loss?
I am pretty bullish on Florida this year.
Okay.
I'm pretty bullish. I think because Dan Mullen is there, the offense has to be better. I also am very aware of the fact that I said the exact same thing with their last head football coach.
The offense has to be better.
It's got to be better. He's an
blank coach is an offensive mind.
Offensive mind.
Yeah.
But this time, eventually, I've got to be right with that. And I think Dan Mullen's probably the guy to get that done. So provided that their defense remains on point, I don't have any reason to believe otherwise. I think the offense improves enough to the point that, a 1-point loss is surmountable in 2018. So I'll agree with that. I think it's
so. Doable. LSU has a better immediate schedule coming into that Florida game. They host Louisiana Tech and they host Ole Miss, which defensively, two good places to get some momentum with the new offensive coordinator and new quarterback going into an extremely tough place to play, having already played Miami and going to Auburn. It's probably nice to have. Whereas Florida goes to Tennessee, which I think will be fine, but nothing. They're nowhere near their ceiling, and they go to Mississippi State, which is a complete unknown under Joe Moorhead, but a pretty talented team. So Florida will be happy to come back home. I think LSU is probably in a pretty good spot there. I am giving the slight edge, even at a tough place to play. I think I'm giving the slight edge to LSU.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
I don't know. I'm feeling confident. I'm feeling a little above average confidence-wise in Joe Burrow right now.
Why?
I'm talking myself into him.
You're talking yourself into Joe Dirt.
I'm talking myself into Joe Dirt. That's completely correct. I don't know. The more I think about it, LSU just had a sort of star-crossed, just poor time last year. And I think it's going to take a little bit for Florida to fully get in rhythm, whereas there is at least a little bit more continuity with LSU. Even with going back to an interim offensive coordinator, I like the Dave Aranda with a more in-place LSU defense against a first-year Florida offense, even on the road.
All right.
I reserve the right to change my mind.
That's fine. Where are we going next? Let's go one more football.
All right, one more football. This is cross-conference. How about that?
Yeah.
Jonathan says, Ohio State, don't blow the Big 12 out-of-conference game like they did to Oklahoma at home last year. This year, they're going to TCU in September.
So now, is this a question or is this just like a statement? Don't blow it. Like you did.
Little bit of both. So TCU hosts that game early on against Ohio State. That's in Arlington. It looks like week 3. So TCU opens the season with Southern. And they go to SMU, Sonny Dykes, and then in the somewhat neutral, not fully neutral game in their own area of Texas, I suppose, in North Texas against Ohio State. Both teams, new quarterbacks. Both teams with certainly talent on defense. Ohio State is going to be a little bit more dangerous there, but it's going to be an easier time travel-wise for TCU. Does Ohio State blow that game early? Like they've done a couple of times. Really good Ohio State teams have had that one trip up early on. A couple times, going back to that Virginia Tech game a few years ago on their national championship team. And then last year against Oklahoma, even though they really looked good the rest of the year. Where is your early lean? So
an early draw against TCU, knowing full well that Ohio State's going to be in a position with a new quarterback is intriguing to me. However, Ohio State is so well-rounded offensively beyond the quarterback position, particularly in that running game, that can get you places. So I could see that being a close game, especially since it's neutral site. But my leaning is still Ohio State in that game. They usually play well in that spot. Usually.
Right.
So far be it from me to go against Urban Meyer in a big spot early like that.
You'll also remember that Ohio State went to Oklahoma a couple years ago.
Drilled them.
Really looked good on the road.
Drilled them.
So there's something to be said. And we talked about the Kansas buffer, the Kansas pillow.
Right.
Do you know who Ohio State opens the season with? 1-11 Oregon State and Rutgers.
Yeah, that Rutgers pillow is pretty soft too.
The Rutgers Oregon State twosome. It's a bed with just extra pillows. There's so much throw pillow on that bed. It's Ohio State tearing away the throw pillows to get to where they're actually sleeping. Rutgers went 4-8 last year. So combined, if my math serves, 5-19 to open the season.
Right.
Pretty good for Ohio State. So I think Ohio State wins that game by double digits.
Moving on, let's go to a non-football question here. Close it out again, solidverbal@gmail.com. Email in. Find us out on all the social medias. Subscribe to our newsletter. Continue.
So I specifically asked for cookout, grilling, barbecue, whatever your preferred term is, side dishes, because I was tasked with making one of these for one tomorrow.
Okay.
And I settled on, I'm going to char some corn up and then toss it. I sent you this recipe with avocado. I might even add some black beans, some hot peppers. It's in like a spicy honey lime vinaigrette, maybe with some cilantro. It looked real good, refreshing. And I think, as you know, we got a ton of these emails about people making brisket or ribs or what goes with, sausage, whatever. I think it's going to run a good counter. I think we're grilling up some sausages. So I think with like the salt factor, it's going to be like a good burst of freshness and, zest, Ty.
Zest.
What do you think? What do you think about a charred corn salad?
You showed me the picture of it earlier.
Right.
It looks delightful if you can pull it off.
I think I can.
I already know.
Bring the avocados separate.
Yeah.
So they don't get all browned.
So you have a native working knowledge of the avocado.
That's true. I do.
So I feel pretty confident that you can pull this off. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So this goes right into Robbie asking, which is better with ribs, baked mac and cheese or roasted corn on the cob?
I'm not a ribs guy.
I do like ribs.
I'm not a ribs guy, but I'm definitely more of a corn on the cob guy here.
I will say this depends. Basically, if you're lacquering sauce on the ribs, which I like a dry rub, I like a wet sauce, whatever. If you're going with that sweeter sauce, I think the answer is like a salty, limey roasted corn to counter the sweetness and the meatiness. I think if you were going drier with like the saltiness, I think you go mac and cheese for richness and starchiness to counter. Does that sound right?
That sounds right. Yeah, sure.
Okay. A lot of people asking questions about coleslaw, Ty. Are you a slaw guy?
No.
Do you like a mayo-based or a vinegar or neither?
I'm not a slaw guy. I'm just not in general.
Okay.
I'm not a slaw guy.
For whatever reason, I like mayo, I like vinegar, all alike. This is my move for slaw. And it's what comes on my favorite fried chicken sandwich that exists in Son of a Gun in LA. If you like vinegar, if you like that tang, Ty, maybe a little bit of spice, I would go with the dressing. You maybe have some some sliced onions, some jalapenos if you're into that spice, a little bit of pickle juice.
Huh.
What do you think?
That was what Deuce Staley used to use to get rid of the cramps.
Is that 100% confirmed?
100%. I don't know if the science behind it is confirmed, but
he actually did go with pickle juice.
Yeah.
I would go with a little bit of pickle juice for your slaw dressing.
All right.
You can put it on sandwiches. You can have it on the side with your richer meats. That's my recommendation for slaw.
With even if you don't like slaw. Richer meats. Look at you.
Your richer meats.
All right.
This was a great life question, Ty.
Yeah.
Another one from our friend Danny K. For attending cookout, grill, whatever, if you follow a lifestyle such as paleo or vegan, paleo, as far as I know, you have to eat very basic foods prepared in very basic, like you can cook them, but nothing, you're not making enchiladas. Enchiladas are not paleo.
Right.
Should you A, only eat when you can at the risk of offending hosts or having to explain yourself, or B, bring a few dishes of your own at the risk of being seen as forcing your way of life onto others? So say you're going to a cookout.
Right. I see what he's doing with this here.
And like if you're eating paleo, you could have like, I don't know if you could have a hot dog. That's a processed meat. But you could have a burger, I assume. It's just ground beef over fire with some salt or something like that. Again, or a steak or a piece of chicken. I don't know. I'm not going to pretend like I know what paleo is, but I'm going to answer this question like I do. I would say eat your sides beforehand. Come a little bit hungry and have some meat. I do think it's a little bit strange to come with your Tupperware and say like,
Hey, Mike's here, and he brought.
I brought my own roast broccoli.
Yeah, that's a little weird.
I think it's a tough thing to pull off with the asterisk if people already know you're a weirdo and confident about that. Like I imagine people think of me. Then go for it. But if it's a bunch of people you don't know and you don't want to explain yourself over and over again, eat your side dishes first and come eat some meat or whatever is paleo there.
I stand by what I said a couple weeks ago.
Which is?
Just don't make a production.
Right.
Don't make a production. Don't cause a scene. Do your best to sort of blend in. But the world does not necessarily care that you are adhering to a specific cuisine, specific dietary choice.
That's right, I think. It'd be very strange to ding dong, door opens. I'm there holding my Tupperware for my food only.
Right.
It's a strange thing to put onto somebody. Also, our friend Jess says, skip the sides, meat only. I can't do that.
No, I
love a side dish. I know she's gluten-free because she has celiac disease, but there are plenty of great, you can eat beans, you can eat potato salad, you can eat that slaw. I think you're okay. I think you got to eat some sides to balance it out.
So now I need to talk to you about this question from David.
Okay.
I know you're not a beer guy. Not much of a beer
I'm not,
guy.
but I will talk beer.
All right. So he says summer shandy or cerveza with a lime. You know what summer shandy is? Are you familiar with Leinenkugel's summer shandy?
I believe is it beer mixed with like a tart lemonade?
It's something like that. Yeah.
I feel like it's a lemony michelada.
Yeah. So summer shandy, or when he says cerveza with a lime, he's really just ignoring the obvious reference here to Bud Light Lime.
I think it's probably Bud Light mixed with lime powder, but okay. Do you like Bud Light Lime?
I am a proponent of Bud Light Lime, Dan.
Okay.
I'm not saying it deserves a 5 out of 5 on your Untapped social network. I'm just saying that Bud Light Lime in the summertime should not be frowned upon and can be rather refreshing. I'm okay with it.
Do they make non-light beer lime beers?
Non-light beer. I'm sure.
So, like, can you get like a Bud Heavy lime, or can you get like a Coors, regular Coors lime?
Probably not.
Okay.
I think it's being sort of sold as a light, refreshing option, kind of like they do with the Mick Ultra stuff, which I never really understood as a marketing pitch. But you're not going to come in from mowing the lawn in 100-degree heat and be like, "Wow, I'm thirsty for a Mick Ultra." Like no one does that. But he may also be referring to a Corona with a lime, which is a much more standard practice.
Mm-hmm.
That's definitely a higher end version of the Bud Light Lime fad that we find ourselves in here in 2018.
Right.
I think both are acceptable and both are preferable over Summer Shandy if I'm selecting one.
There is something that Summer Shandy can be very acidic. I'm going to go with like a Tecate with lime being my ideal cold summer beer. It's cheap. It's available everywhere. It's great cold. It mixes well with the lime. That's probably my move there.
At our live show, if someone comes up and wants to buy me a Bud Light Lime, I will not at all scoff at that.
Okay. It's probably going to be pretty warm in Chicago.
I will not at all scoff at a Bud Light Lime. A nice cold Bud Light Lime, yeah.
Here we go. JD wants to know the best side dishes that also make for good toppings on hot dogs.
Oh, boy.
So you're not a slaw person. Slaw dogs are good, Ty.
Yeah.
I grew up in LA where it's a pretty experimental hot dog town, Ty. It just is.
Okay.
Did I ever take you to any of like the weird hot dog places in LA?
Experimental hot dog town. I'm writing that down.
Ty.
Okay.
So there's a famous place called Pink's. Do you know about Pink's hot dogs?
No. Pink's.
They have Pink's, yes. Pink's hot dogs. I want to say it's on Melrose. And they're very creative. They have these hot dogs named after famous people that come create it. And some of them have slaw. Some of them will be a mac and cheese dog, like a bacon potato salad. Like there'll be a Seth Rogen dog and a Martha Stewart dog. And they really go for it. I don't really do like the crazy hot dogs. Their chili cheese dog is outstanding. So I would say side dishes that make for good toppings for hot dogs. Ranch beans. It's sort of a chili stand-in. I think that's fine. You want to put some cheese on there as well? mustard, onions, great. So ranch, baked beans type things, that's great. I will say a spicy slaw on a hot dog, really good. Maybe a spicy mustard as the dressing for the slaw.
Okay.
I think that can be great. Beyond slaw and beans as a side dish on a dog, I don't know.
I think the answer is chili.
Is chili a side dish though?
Sure.
You will go to a cookout and they will be making like chicken and steaks with a side of chili. I don't know. Chili on hot dog is great.
Chili's versatile enough that it could be a side if someone wanted to make it as a side.
I think it's more likely you're going to get like ranch beans, which are chili-esque. But yeah.
Chili, I think, is the answer. But
how would you most rigorously load up a hot dog, Ty?
What do you mean? What does this mean?
No, I just wanted to say rigorously. What is your standard hot dog topping wise? And if you're really going for it, if you're making like a super dog, like if you are, you're doing it not just for flavor, but also for show, that you want like a loaded hot dog.
Well, the loaded hot dog would come if I went to Yakko's.
So what's the loaded Yakko's dog?
The loaded Yakko's dog is the Yakko's secret sauce, which is one of a kind.
What is it closest to?
It's like a chili.
Okay. A chili sauce rather than a chili stew.
That's right. They'll put some onions on it, but usually just a chili sauce and maybe some onions here and there. If I were loading it up, though, if I had my pick of the proverbial hot dog condiment add-on litter, I would commit the cardinal sin and go ketchup.
That's fine.
I would probably also put some yellow mustard on there. I would probably go some onions as well. And then maybe try to simulate the Yakko's experience with some sort of chili. Although you're always sort of taking your life in your hands when you use a foreign chili as a topping on the hot dog.
You would mix.
You don't know how that's going to go over.
Can you taste the ketchup with chili on there as well, or the chili sauce? I feel like that's pretty close.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't overdo it with the ketchup.
Okay.
Something like that, I think.
The only real... So I obviously feel strongly about ketchup. I know somebody on our subreddit, I want to say it's either Stryker or Peter, that their handle sort of says ketchup equals garbage. And
that's fine.
I smile every time I see it.
That's fine.
I've softened on the listen, if you like ketchup, put ketchup on your hot dog. I think it's gross, but to each their own. If I'm loading up, I'm going chili. Love a place called Tommy's, a fast food place. I'll get a pint of chili from there. Yellow mustard. I'm not talking about brown. I'm not talking about some sort of spicy or honey, like the Gray's mustard. Like New York mustard is just trash. Yellow, like French's, whatever mustard. French's, get at us for sponsorship. We're open. Some diced onions, mustard. Oh, and I might melt some American cheese under the dog, Ty. So I'd like melt a little bit of cheese, dog, mustard, onions, and then chili encapsulating everything.
Okay. Wow.
It's aggressive.
All right.
I'm not going to tell you it's not.
2 more non-football, Dan, before we go.
Let's go to... God, a lot of people just have questions about coleslaw. Who knew? Matt Werner, grilled veggies, underrated as a side dish.
Agreed.
I don't know if they're underrated. I think everybody I know likes grilled veggies.
Yeah. Underrated in general, I'd say.
What are your go-to specific vegetables?
Zucchini's the grilled. Zucchini's probably the champ, yeah.
Oh, man. I go onions, maybe some poblano peppers. A little spice in there. I love grilled onions. I can eat a mountain of onions.
Yeah.
And you wake me up in the middle of the night with a plate of grilled onions, Ty. I'm rearing. If you
literally and figuratively, Daniel,
I'm rearing. If you knock down my front door with just a mound of sautéed or grilled onions, and you had a bullhorn and you said it's an emergency, and I had to jump out of bed, and you're like, the emergency is these onions are delicious, I would say, what the hell, Ty? And thank you for the onions, because I do love them.
Last question.
We got a couple questions about potato salad.
Yeah.
So my question to you is, have you made potato salads? Do you have stances on potato salads? Do you have secret ingredients that go into potato salads? And Nathan specifically wanted to know if there's anything more variant than good to bad potato salad.
I have very strong thoughts on potato salad.
Oh my God. I'm ready.
It's got to be cold, first off.
Oh, yes, of course.
I like a cold potato salad.
I was saying the German ones are like, is that what's warm?
Well, I mean, they're just warm in general if you leave them out of the fridge for too long.
No, I know, but I think German potato salad's supposed to be warm.
The Germans like everything warm. They like their beer
true.
at room temperature.
Yeah, it's very strange.
But I prefer a colder potato salad to start. I also prefer a potato salad of a little bit more crunchier variety.
I'm so in there with you.
Like the potato salad to be a little bit crunchier. Sometimes you get mushy, and that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, for sure, needs to be crunchy, needs to be cold.
Yep.
Also, there's nothing worse than a potato salad that has been poorly mixed, and it just tastes awful.
I don't know that we have been more simpatico
Wow.
on a food topic than we are with potato salad. I want a crunch factor. I don't want it over creamed. I want it well seasoned. Crunch factor can be anything. You want salt crunch? You want some bacon in there? You want some scallions? Some julienne carrots? Really, go for it. That's fine. I just need texture variation, Ty. It sounds funny when I say it out loud. And it's got to be cold. It's got to be
cold. Some people really just go heavy on the mayo.
Do you like a mustard potato salad?
I don't know if I've ever had one of those.
Oh, delicious, Ty.
You were the one who turned me on initially to brown mustard, and it's changed my life.
I do like brown mustard, just not on my hot dogs. I would definitely say keep it cold, but yellow mustard and potato salad, more found in the South, I would say, than anywhere else. Delicious. You get that tang factor. You're not as reliant on mayo. You get something maybe sweet with the carrots and salty with bacon or scallions or something like that. I love a potato salad because it counteracts barbecue meat so well. The sort of chilled starchiness against the hot saltiness. I'm just fully enthusiastic and on board with excellent potato salads.
Why don't we leave it there, Daniel?
Can I peel some couple layers back on this show?
Sure.
You initially, because I'm traveling this week and you've been running around, you said to me, should we just take this week off?
I did say that, yeah.
Perfectly reasonable question.
Right.
We're in the midst of summer. We're right before we're going to fully load up for the season. We got season previews coming up.
Mm-hmm.
We've got media days coming up. We have actual news. We're going to be ramping up and doing more shows. I said, you know what, Ty? It's the holiday week. Why don't we give, people are traveling. Why don't we give them something? And you said, all right, let's record at 4:30 and let's bang out a half hour.
Yep.
And here we are at 5:37. And I bow down, Ty. You are a warrior. Other shows take weeks off, and they're great shows, but they'll take a week off. They don't dedicate themselves to editing and production value like you do. Ty, here you are. This is your MJ flu game.
It's a little bit like the flu game, yeah.
The dead of the off season.
100-degree heat, yeah.
Yep.
If it sounds like I'm in a wind tunnel, it's because I've got the fan in this room on
That's fine.
turbo at the moment, but yeah.
I'm just sitting here that when you are listening to this show, please know that Ty is giving you every last bit of himself.
I'm going to collapse in a puddle after this, yeah.
That's all I got. I just wanted to let it be known that you're digging deep, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, Daniel. I appreciate you.
Yes.
As I always do, and I appreciate all the verballers.
Yep.
Who so kindly sent us, we have pages of questions here.
We do. We have about 8 pages. We asked for questions about an hour before recording.
on like an hour's notice. So thank you to everyone, as always, for your support and enthusiasm. We've been saying it, trust us when we say that we mean it, a whole bunch of exciting things coming up here. Mm-hmm. Really, we're on the precipice of what's going to be a very exciting next couple of months here in Solid Verbalville. Not the least of which is, of course, the live show, the Fantasy Things Draft, somewhere in Chicago on August the 11th. We're working up to that. Please do subscribe to the newsletter if you want to get first dibs on those tickets. That's where you're going to get the link first and foremost. Also, we've got merch coming out. We've seen proofs. The store is about to launch. We're very excited about how that looks.
Yep.
A lot of exciting stuff. I was stunned, by the way, at the reaction we got to the dad hat.
People want to be lazy on game day. They don't want to, be doing their hair. They just want to throw a hat on. I've worn the new Solid Verbal hat, and I can tell you, not only does it have looks, but it has personality.
Yeah.
So I'm a big fan. So yeah, the hat's coming out. We're told the merch store opens this week. Hopefully that's the case. We've got 3 shirts. We've got a hat. We posted one of the shirts both on Twitter and Instagram. Follow if you're not yet. We'll post a couple more pictures of the other stuff soon. And yeah, sign up for the newsletter. We can't wait to see everybody, whether you're in Chicago or coming from elsewhere in the Midwest or anywhere else in the country, for the Fantasy Things draft on August 11th in Chicago. I really wish we would have had this venue situation taken care of, but we assure you it is within the city limits of Chicago. And sign up for that dang newsletter for that first link to make sure you get your tickets.
On that note, for that gentleman over there, my good friend Dan Rubenstein, for myself, Ty Hildenbrand over here in Allentown, PA. By all means, enjoy your 4th. Please stay safe. Enjoy your cookouts. Enjoy any road trips you might be on here. Yeah, we'll catch you all in a week. In the meantime, stay solid.
Peace.